tonight. But I thank everyone for coming out here. My name is Chuck Phelan. I'm a Ward 5 City Councilor. I'm the one that sent out the mailing to you. I am circulating a list, and if you could put your name, your address, and email. What I do is whenever I do these neighborhood meetings, I keep a list like that and create an email chain, and also if I need to get mail out, because generally we won't probably settle everything tonight, and that way I can keep you informed of what's going on and any changes. If there's an ordinance that needs to be changed and I need to bring it before the city council, I can let you know when it's passed so you know the progress on where we stand.
Just take a little louder.
Sure. Okay. How's that? Better? Okay. I called the meeting because I received a petition from the neighborhood. It came in, and I just wanted to sit down a little bit, is to listen to what you have to say. We have Chris Casani with Traffic and Parking. We have the police officers from the community policing. Jim, could you introduce?
Well, I'm the community police officer, who is here in Ward 5. Kind of runs within Ward 2. We'll give Chuck all the time.
Okay. Because I think some of the issues that I read in that are both have to do with traffic and parking department, and also have to do, some of it seems to be enforcement issues. So that's why I'm having both people here to listen to people, to try to come up with a workable plan. I'm going to be doing meetings like this all throughout different neighborhoods in the city, and you're actually going to be the first one, so you're the start of it. And try to connect with people, see what we can do to come up with some solutions and actually work with people to try to make sure. And one of the things is, I'm going to leave my business cards up here. If anyone after the meeting or anything has questions, my email's on it. I apologize in the beginning. It took a couple weeks for my city email to get up and running. I know people sent me emails, which I never got. They went out into cyberspace and I never got them. But now everything is working. There's a phone number on there. If you call that, it rings on my cell phone. Can't guarantee I'll get to you, but I try to get back to people the next day within 24 hours of your call or an email. I do them in the morning. So all that's working now. All that's done. So I guess probably the best way. I know people have some pictures. They have some documentation. Why don't we start off? And just to let you know, this is Quincy Cable right here, and they're just doing a show.
Jen.
So I don't. Am I coming over on this?
Yeah, it just feeds into here. It's not like on the PA or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, just sing away.
Okay, so you're picking me up. Okay. So if anyone has anything, you can also watch it on Channel 8 or Channel 9, whatever it's on for Quincy Cable. So I guess the first thing we're going to do is, I think maybe listen to what some of the problems are, and people have come. And then I know we also have Noel DeBona, Councilor at Large. Thank Noel for coming, because anything I need to do, if I need to do an ordinance change, I need his vote on it. So, and Noel's been very good about working with the neighborhoods. So I guess we'll start, if people want to start and discuss what they have. Okay.
Shall I?
Yep.
Do I go up to the mic?
You can, yeah.
Okay, all right.
If you like.
So, thank you. My name is Joan Pierce, and I live at 75 Willow Avenue. I started out right. Okay, so I live at 75 Willow Avenue, and I have some photographs which I'd like to leave with Councilor Phelan, and then there's another one here. I have two of each. And so you'll never be able to see them, but I'll show them anyway, and there's just a few. I'll go really fast. So basically what I want to talk about is the speed limit signs on Willow Avenue. I'm very concerned about the speed that people go, and we've been complaining about this. Mike knows better and has kept track of it better. But as of July of 2018, we did have speed limit signs that were installed on Willow Avenue, one down towards Newport, 20 miles an hour. And I'll just put these in two different piles here. And then, right next to my driveway, there was also a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. And again, I'm at 75 Willow Avenue. And then the speed limit was still 20 miles an hour as of January 2019. I only made one of those. And then at some point in April of 2019, the city changed the speed limits and it was 25 miles an hour. Even though we had been complaining that it was too fast, the city upped the speed limit another 5 miles an hour. So and the reason I find this is also problematic is because the section of Furnace Brook Parkway, this is Willow Avenue that comes out. This is the section of Furnace Brook that we're talking about. Now, I have a blow-up of this, but when you come out of Furnace Brook and you turn right to go to Bernazzani, there's a speed limit sign of 25 miles an hour for that section of Furnace Brook. And you can see the difference in the width of Furnace Brook Parkway at this particular location, and also compare it to Willow Avenue. This section of Furnace Brook has got shoulders, on either side of the road. It's a very wide street. There's a guardrail between the pavement and the sidewalk, and you don't have the houses right close to the road the way you do in Willow Avenue. So there's that. And then this is just a blow-up because you couldn't really see the speed limit sign. Again, the same section of Furnace Brook, and there's a 25-mile-an-hour sign. And the problem, in particular, I feel is exacerbated because when you come off of Furnace Brook and you turn onto Willow Avenue at that corner, you come around the corner, you're facing a hill, and the first thing you see is a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign at the top of the hill. You gun your engine because it says you can go 25 miles an hour. Except if you look at this picture in particular, you can't see beyond the 25-mile-an-hour sign. The road drops off. It makes a bend. You have very limited sight lines at this portion of the hill. So you have no idea what's going on directly on the other side of the speed limit sign. This is a high-density neighborhood. You have driveways that are about 50 feet apart on average. My particular lot is only 40 feet wide, so my neighbor's driveway is a mere 30 feet from mine. So I think this is very dangerous to have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign right near the top of the hill where you can't see what's coming. There could be people pulling out of their driveways, crossing the street. And so then when you come around the corner, yes, it does say slow on the pavement, but I'm not sure what that means because you just passed a speed limit sign that says 25 miles an hour. You're looking straight down the hill. You've got occasionally the cars parked on either side of the road, but you're looking at a straight shot towards Newport Avenue, which to me just encourages people to go too fast. So that is, and then this is just another photograph of the same section of the street, but looking the other way. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Bob?
Bob Wise, 57 Willow Ave. We've been fighting this fight since 2003 when Cheryl Jarvie initiated information to then Ward 5 Councilor Doug Guthrow. From 2003, it was reenacted again back in 2015 when we brought it up against Kirsten, the previous Ward 5 Council. Issues at that point in time were addressed literally by everybody in this room by getting traffic and parking on board. We're trying to get the speed signs, of speed posted, and to have the Quincy Police Department come down and do the enforcement of making sure that the 3 to 6 signs and the 7 in the morning till 9 o'clock in the morning signs were being adhered to. That was all well and good. The letter I gave you tonight and passed it on was a letter that my wife Lois wrote stipulating on November 1st of 2016, almost 3.5 years ago, addressing the same complaints that we're kind of here tonight for, is that it bottoms out that what we need is the enforcement of the ordinances that have been put forth. And doesn't mean that you come down and you sit there and you let them pass by, and all they get is a little wave through and a little talk to and told to stop. That was all well and good then. We're 3.5 years later, and it's still happening, but now the traffic is still increasing between the 3 and 6 o'clock hours from Newport onto Willow, and then the same thing in the morning. Enforcement, enforcement, and enforcement. You now have got to start ticketing these people. It's the only way you're going to drive it home, that you're not allowed to come through those signs at that time of the morning or that time of the afternoon. And now, the other thing, still going back to November 1st of 2016, we are seeing more 18-wheelers. You come off of Newport Ave and you go down to Furnace Brook Parkway, you're not even supposed to be a truck that's on that road. Why we're not getting the enforcement from the state side? There used to be a state trooper's car always parked in the parking lot of Bernazani, facing out. You don't see that car anymore. I don't see, or if anyone can validate it, I don't see the motorcycle guys down at the end of Oakland Ave anymore to catch the speed that's coming down Newport, or even if you put somebody on Newport, to make sure that they don't come on to Willow at those hours. But the state road, which is Furnace Brook Parkway, is 25 miles an hour. It's not built to have the trucks. There's signs from Quincy Shore Drive all the way to the expressway. No trucks. But we've got photographs, we've got video, that we've even followed a Pepsi truck that came down Furnace Brook Parkway, turned onto Willow to make the cut through to Newport to go all the way down to Stop and Shop. A Bud Light. All right, well, we got a Bud Light, I'm sorry, but it looks like a Pepsi truck sometimes.
After you've had you.
We got the video on it anyway. But these are the things that really need to curtail it. They need to stop. You know, we still have kids in the neighborhood. We're still concerned, overly concerned, about keeping the speed down, keeping the trucks off the road, and just get the enforcement back where it's supposed to be. It's 3.5 years now.
May I make a suggestion?
Okay?
There's a new captain that just took over in traffic, Captain John Steele. Maybe you started contacting his office. He's got 3 or 4 officers working for him. And if they can't get to it, they can drop me a letter, and I'll go to it.
Okay.
Sometimes a lot of stuff is a miscommunication, or you don't want to step on another unit's toes by doing their job.
But enforcement only has 3 or 4 officers, right, to cover this whole city?
What's the penalty for driving into a street that says do not enter, 3 to 6? What's the penalty?
I'll look it up, let you know.
But maybe I think our point for this meeting is that we need help, right? So wouldn't it be maybe more impactful instead of us reaching out?
Right.
If you reach out?
I will,
I think that's what
I
we
will
want
reach
to
out
do.
to the captain.
Yeah, right, like.
I will reach
Yeah.
out.
I think
How many of
can
those
say-
tickets have ever been issued on Willow, Oakland, Cedar?
That I don't know.
I don't think any tickets
Probably 0.
that cost anybody any money has ever been issued. If anything, it was a verbal or it was a written warning. But that was
Where
it.
does the law stand on people living in the neighborhood coming down the one-way? Does it apply to everyone?
It
or-
applies to everyone.
Okay.
That's sometimes one of the problems. If you
I was
come-
unclear. I'm not one way or against it or another, but I didn't know what the law was. I thought if you had a house and you lived 2 houses into that street, you should be allowed to go into your driveway,
I have to
though.
confess, when they first went up, I was very vigilant, and then I saw that nobody else was doing stuff. And I started to cheat and come in to get to
I
the
want her
house.
watched.
We know where you live.
Because nothing was in my bigger, along with that, you got the 4-way stop sign at Willow and Oakland.
Maybe.
Which half the
Right.
time nobody stops at. There's no way, I know that a lot of the details have said that people aren't speeding, but I gotta tell you, they're speeding, and they're speeding through that, and it's not 25 miles an hour. It's much more than 25 miles an hour. whether they're being directed there with GPS or whatever, but the traffic is much, I mean, we've been here for 50 years. The traffic is just ridiculous, the speed's ridiculous, the four-way stop signs aren't working. It's just, everything has been put into place.
Well, occasionally I'll go out in the afternoon too and put on waves that there's a police presence, even when there isn't, just to try and stop people from making the turn in.
Motorcycles and stuff, showing off, too. And they do a lot of the selective enforcement, too.
Okay.
What about the idea of extending the times?
All right. Thank you.
I was gonna say extending the times, instead of 7 to 9, make it 7 to 10, because everyone's cheap.
Yeah, that's
Or 3 to 6, make it 3 to 7. Because I've come down Willow Ave at 5:30 to come to that light that's blinking at the tunnel, and there are people coming up at 5:30. You know, and I'm like, I roll down my window and I'm like, hey, you know, it's a one-way, you know, and sometimes there's cars parked on both sides and that street's narrow. There's only room for one car.
What does it say right now?
3 to 6.
3 to 6.
7 to 9 and 3 to 6.
So if you extend the hours maybe by an hour, like go 7 to 10 on one end and
Well, I
3
guess
to
if
7
you
on the other
implement
end.
some of the other ideas before
Yeah.
extending that, because it doesn't make a whole lot of
Yeah,
sense
it's
to
just a
extend it.
suggestion, and maybe
They're not gonna
for people to
enforce
get
it.
used to it, instead of writing a ticket for everyone that's, because then they can say, oh, it was 9 o'clock for,
I mean, one of the is if you bring the police down, they will enforce it on
Yeah.
everybody. So
I thought maybe for a
that's-
couple of weeks, you just give them a warning, and then after, I mean, if you do the 10 o'clock, and if you extend it 1 hour, you do a couple of
But
warnings.
the bottom line is to bring the police down. I mean, a lot of times, they might be good about it, they might have pulled over a neighborhood person. But if we bring them down and we say we want them to enforce, that's what they're gonna enforce.
That's good, because most of us have been following it.
So what I'll do is I'll get a notice out to everyone at this meeting saying, yeah, it's coming, so you get ready for it.
Stop sign might be a good idea at the top of that hill too,
Well, there was, I live at the top, right
Right.
coming off of Furnace Brook.
Sure.
And right as you turn the bend, and it is very scary at times. I've almost been hit pulling out of my driveway. More concerning to me, as a school teacher and a parent, seeing the kids going to Central and people are ignoring the do not enter sign and coming up fast as heck, and kids are walking. All the kids cut through our neighborhood to get to Central. And it's very concerning to me that, one, they're not abiding by the rule and not going down the street, but they're speeding, and I don't believe there's much you can do about that other than because you're going in at a hill and you're pressing and you're gunning it, and then all of a sudden it's downhill. And that little area is very dangerous, and it continues going down the hill. So I don't know, in my mind, I feel like a speed bump could be the only thing when you're coming off of Furnace Brook onto Willow Ave.
Oh, coming up the hill.
Yeah, coming up the hill.
What about a stop sign? A stop
But there's
sign?
a stop sign. Well, not turning right.
No, there's not one turning right
But
down to Willow.
coming from Cedar Street, there is a sign.
Yeah.
But should be for the stop sign coming up the hill.
Yeah, that's what I
Like
mean.
to my house, I live at 97 Willow Ave. One day I was out there like 5 o'clock, and I was cutting my grass. This pickup truck coming up, if I stepped off the sidewalk, just to like a couple of inches, either onto the street, boom, I would have been gone. 40 miles an hour coming up the street. Here's another example.
And they do blow through the stop sign constantly. I stand in my front porch and I watch them coming and going, all different hours, blowing the stop sign, flying. There's pickup trucks, tow trucks, ambulances,
Trailer trucks.
18-wheelers.
I mean, trailer trucks.
Constant what I see.
Well, one of the things that I'm getting out of this meeting is, first of all, you also need help from the state police. Because these commercial trucks aren't supposed to be coming down. So that's, will be my first contact with, I'll deal with Tacker Chan and John Keenan, because they're the state senator and
And
representative.
I'll tell you one more thing, about 2 o'clock in the morning, up Willow Ave, trailer truck, 2 o'clock in the morning, every night trailer truck comes up the street.
Is it a particular trailer truck?
I'm in bed, I don't
I'm not-
know. All I know, my house is shaking. You know, let's say when I sit up there with German Shepherds, next thing I'll have a roadblock.
Yeah, I just, You know, like one of them mentions a Stop and Shop truck. I mean, I'm willing to contact the corporate.
Ring doorbell might catch it.
Yeah.
Somebody has one.
Yeah, if it was a particular truck, we could go to the company.
My wife said it was a Stop and Truck.
Stop and Shop truck?
Yeah.
Is there any way to contact Waze, the app that sends these
Change.
trucks, and have them listed as a no trucks allowed, do not, whatever, change it, get it off of their GPS?
Change the GPS from our street and just let them go straight. Half of those cars are going up the hill, up to the outskirts.
I know like Boston was doing a program with the slow neighborhood streets, slow streets program. And one of the things they had in there was there was a way that they have to contact Waves where they can take it off. So that's going to be one of my.
One of them did take it off. Either Waze or Maps, they both used to send us that way,
Yeah.
and I think Maps took it off, and Waze kept it. But one of the companies did take it off after the last
Okay.
meeting. I don't know who nicely contacted.
I know that in Boston they have a way to do it, so there's got to be a way.
I got something. It's not a problem right now, but the development that's across from the end of Anderson Road, that the old rest home. that opens up
Eventide.
on Parkway.
Yes.
That has a gate. And whenever that gets sold, those people are going to either come on to Furnaceburg Parkway or use Anderson Road as a cut through to get into Boston. And that's something that should be looked into because when it sells, there's going to be lots of cars coming in. There's already a gate there.
Right now it is closed, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but whenever the things get sold. They have a gate on it now, looks like somebody's going to.
But that actually goes all the way back to when I was in council before, back to -- because that was one of the things that we made them put on, was part of their permit was that they put on that gate.
But you
So
know
they
they're going to go.
They put a new gate on it.
To cut
Okay.
through.
It's a
There's
car.
a gate. There's a gate now.
As I see the contractors going in and out.
Oh, okay.
But I assume something will be built, I assume it'll be condos.
It's either condos or apartments.
I thought it was assisted living, but to be honest,
Eventide's gone. Eventide's gone. They're now down in Weymouth.
oh, okay, Eventide.
They built.
But that was bought by, if I'm not, I'll look that up. That was bought by, if I'm not mistaken, was that the O'Connell?
Peter O'Connell.
And that was gonna be assisted living.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Those are all condos now.
Okay.
And the agreement was that it would be key access, that they would be informed not to egress out onto Furnaceburg Parkway. And the only time you may see something would be maybe a repair van or a van coming in that way.
They just put that gate there about a year ago, I think, not too long ago.
All right, I will check with the building department to find out what the
Two things, the speed limit, 25 miles an hour, that should put that to where it was 20.
20.
Because they're going 30 and 35 now.
Well, that's something I can do.
Yeah.
I can bring that into the
And then
city.
Bob mentioned the tractor trailer. Actually, Monday, did you see the Reinhold tractor trailer coming up this week?
Yeah.
I called him
I got a
up.
picture and I sent it to Chuck.
Yeah, I called him up and no response. And just imagine now when you get the 400 apartments up to Hospital Hill, what's going to happen? They're going to become through even more and faster. And the biggest thing for me is when they come off of Furnaceburg Parkway, it's a straight shot down to Oakland. There's no buffer for them to slow down. They won't put a stop sign there, but no speed bump or anything like that. It's just a straight shot all the way down. And that's where they pick up their speed, either coming up from Oakland or coming down from Furnaceburg Parkway.
Then like Michael says, once they get up that stop sign, they zip right up the hill to 101 Willow Ave. So they're zipping like probably 40, 50, They shift it, boom.
Well, I don't know why it was changed to 25.
Well, it's a citywide speed limit,
The
right?
speed limit is 25 miles per hour
But
everywhere in the city.
I came up
except where-
today, 25 miles an hour, and I said, this is too fast.
Too fast.
Because 25, going 5, you can really hurt somebody, but 25 is way too fast for a residential area.
So, as a background on speed limits in general, though, the city council adopted 25 as the prima facie speed limit, which means it's 25 unless it's otherwise posted. is posted otherwise on a street like Newport Ave, or parts of Quarry Street, or Quincy Avenue, etc. The state does not allow you to unilaterally say what you want your speed limit to be. You can't say, well, we want people to go slower, so we'll make it 20. They simply put, they don't allow you to do that. What they tell you you have to do, and what you have to do, and I just talked about this with them the other day, you have to do a speed study. In the speed study, the data you collect is what the speed limit would become. And if the data doesn't say that 20 miles per hour is a realistic expectation, then they will not allow you to make the speed limit 20 miles per hour. So 25 miles per hour, I mean, is the speed limit, and based on a lot of different historical data collection over there, I really don't see a scenario where the state would allow anything less than what we have.
Can I ask you a question, Chris? What was the results of the last speed study from 1125 through 12.9?
The 85th percentile was 29 miles per hour, which is reflective of what the old speed limit was.
Right.
Right, the old speed limit was 30. So the 85th percentile is the number that the speed limit is typically based on, and that means 85% of the vehicles that travel on a given road are traveling at or below that speed. So what we see now, when we see a speed like 29, that's obviously faster than what the posted speed limit is. How do you get to 29? You get to 29 by a lot of people driving 30, and obviously certain people driving 35 and 40, or whatever the number is. And one of the ideas that I've mentioned to Councilor Phelan, and we found it's been effective in other towns in the area, and we're envisioning having a number of these installed this calendar year in Quincy, are the permanent speed feedback signs. So a sign that has the speed limit posted at 25, and then as you drive past it, it tells you how fast you're going. We're envisioning doing that in both directions on Willow. I drove through there today. From Newport over to Oakland, I'm not sure if the parking demand is always what it is. There's quite a bit of parking over there.
It is,
which
yeah.
definitely slows down.
You would
It
think
can.
You
It
would
should.
think it would,
It
but
should.
a lot of times it doesn't.
Certainly the other end of it definitely is an area where, coming off Furnaceburg Parkway, having a sign like that posted all the time, permanently, and it gets people's attention and encourages them to slow down. Those are things that are within our purview. There's no downside to it. Even the enforcement angle of it, the downside would be, I live here, why did I just get pulled over? In this case, there's really no downside to putting them in. It doesn't mean, obviously, that people can't drive too fast because they will, but it does make people aware. When they're going 29 and you're in your driveway, 29 feels a lot faster when you're close to it than when you're even driving yourself, right? I mean, we're all guilty of driving 29 periodically. So that's something that we envision that we want to do. It's a matter of, we have the product, I believe, in stock, but if we don't, we can order it. We get it installed and it's there. It's part of your neighborhood. It's something that people get used to. And again, I think it makes people going 32 realize, oh geez, I'm 7 over here. And I don't think that 32 mile per hour driver is doing anything malicious. It's just habit, just habitual type behavior. So that's one item that we definitely.
Well, that's a good point, because they have one of those at Central Plaza on Common Street, and I saw it, and I just slowed down when I saw it.
Sure.
So it'll make you slow down. So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And what was the highest speed? Do you have it there? The highest
I
speed?
think the highest we got was 52.
What time was that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
2 o'clock in the morning, probably? Was
You'd
that
be
too
surprised,
much when
you
you
know?
were out there?
Well, one thing that is interesting from the data we did collect is that the volume of cars it doesn't go like 50 cars an hour from 7 to 9 and then 3 or 4 for the next few hours. It stays somewhat consistent throughout the day. I mean, which is indicative of your neighborhood. There's people coming and going. But, I do think what we did look at, extending those hours to 7 definitely makes sense in your neighborhood. Definitely makes sense. And again, going back to what Councilor Phelan said, and I know how Quincy Police feels, I don't want to speak for him, but to get the number down to 100% compliance, or I guess up to 100%, is difficult, right? That's unrealistic. But getting another 6, 10, 12 drivers to comply, you know, that has that impact of making your street seem that much quieter. So I think that extending those hours out to 7, based on the data we have, and obviously your experience, is something that would make sense. And that would just be an ordinance change
which I will
for
bring
the council.
Yeah.
to change.
And 10 on the morning side, right?
Yep.
Right?
What is it?
Like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, go by, because 9 o'clock is not doing it. 9 o'clock, it's like the floodgates.
Central gets out at 2:30, so you've got kids on the street from 2:30.
So that is just short af,
rather
that's a
than
private way.
3 o'clock, your kids are
So
already
two-
halfway walking home.
So if we did it like 2 to
Like
6.
7 miles
In
per
the
hour.
middle,
It's
it's
2 miles.
So
That's
it's 1:45.
Is it 145?
It's because it's private. Yeah.
The kids get home at 2:30.
One other question I was going to have for you, Chris, since we've already started.
Central's 2:30.
One of the things is commercial traffic coming down. Now, is there currently a limit on the street, or is there a sign saying, you know, no commercial trucks? I mean,
I don't believe that,
On Furnace.
I would love to leave that, the trucks allowed on Willow Ave.
so in order to do that, so that it's officially official, it's not just an ordinance by the city council. However, it's an interaction with DOT at the state level to say, we have, there's all these reasons why this truck shouldn't be on the road, and there's this alternative route that they can take. Which in this case, unfortunately, you can't send them down Furnace Brook because they're prohibited, but it would be to send them to Adams Street, which is a viable alternative if they're heading southbound. If they're heading northbound, obviously they have no business being there. Anyways, but it's a process, and again, I think that DOT would probably look favorably on it. And then it's a real, actual ordinance. Quincy Police Department can enforce it, and someone can't fight it in court if they would, saying it's not a real ordinance, you know what I mean?
There is a commercial business on Willow Street. I don't know if it's grandfathered, but it has a bunch of vans. It's called Sunny Flooring.
No matter what the situation is, if you're making a delivery, including Furnace Brook Parkway.
No, it's a business.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Business trucks come out of there, or vans come out of there.
If you have business on the street, if you have to be on the street, if you have to deliver something to the street, you're allowed to be there.
for example, you get a refrigerator at Best Buy, and they need to deliver it to your house.
Good
You don't want
question.
to stop.
I don't know.
But they have a reason for being on your street.
Coming and going on Willow Ave, big trucks, they're going out to Furnace Brook.
You wouldn't have a trailer truck coming down there delivering a refrigerator, so it shouldn't be. Anyways, and most delivery trucks aren't trailer truck size anyways. So, I mean, is that me throwing in
What the city has done in the past, there have been ordinances passed, but ultimately to get it to be a real, fully enforceable, non-repealable or debatable ordinance, we go through the DOT. And again, I think we have probably almost enough data right now where we could go to DOT and say,
Okay.
this is something we want to do on these streets. And again, they typically look very favorably at things like this because cars they shouldn't be there in the first place, and there's alternatives available to them to go where they need to go.
Okay, so that's something I can definitely put in.
Yep.
And you want something from me saying, I want this put in? Or do we need a resolve from the city council or anything like that?
Really, again, it goes into effect without even the city council voting on it. It's a DOT, if the DOT authorizes it, then it's,
All right,
it's policy.
so is that going to be your action? item?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
no problem.
Excuse me, if you put up a sign for children slow, does that help?
We already did.
They're already there.
No,
Yeah,
that's-
those are the-
I think they become too much part of the environment, and people they don't stand out. Also, you might hear from people that say, if you put that in place in location A, well, what about location B? That also might have kids. So they're not all that effective. They're really not. I think that the speed feedback signs are more interactive because it's you triggering it to show you something. And it's you understanding that you should drive a little bit slower. They have smiley faces on them in Weymouth. I'm not a big fan of those because I feel like one of these days someone's going to get distracted by the smiley face and turn into a telephone pole. But they, you know, those are good. It's a good tool.
I think if you don't live on the street, you don't realize. In my own situation, there are always a lot of cars parked across the street. If I park my own car in front, it's very narrow, right? And then you see this truck coming by and they can hardly make it. My own car has been sideswept. And I think you don't realize how narrow the street because there are cars on both sides.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the flip side of that would be if you restrict parking, let's say altogether on one side of the street, you make the path clearer to drive a little faster. So it's, you know, it's a balance you got to strike with that.
Can I ask you something? What about a one-way? Cedar and Willow Ave, coming from Newport. Any one ways, you think?
Similar situation here. I mean, if it were one way, then all of the traffic from Newport Ave would have to be allowed to go down.
No, I mean the one, do not enter from Newport Ave. You know what I mean?
But somewhere along the line, you'd have to have, you do a one-way pair typically. So right. One way in, one way out. And if you did that, I mean, I guess in theory, you could have them all be one way this way. What that would mean though is every person in your neighborhood all the time would have to do that exact route to get out. So we find that to be, like, it sounds good, but in practice,
too much.
Yeah, too much medicine, you know?
All right.
What is the effectiveness of speed bumps?
What's that?
What's the effectiveness of speed bumps?
So speed bumps are something that they're in place in the city on Governor's Road, you know, on Shore Ave. Governor's Road is the only, I believe, the only accepted city street that has them. They're a legacy going back quite a ways. Shore Ave is a private way, and they were privately funded and built. They are something that, in general, across all jurisdictions, traffic engineers don't recommend them. They're an absolute, complete last resort.
Why do they not recommend them? It seems like it stops you from flying down the street.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that they're effective in slowing people down. They do come with a number of different things that you may not think about as being an issue. They can be impactful relative to drainage. They can be a total nuisance and very, very difficult for snow plowing. I mean, they can get ripped apart. They can cause damage to vehicles. And they also can be incredibly annoying for the person who lives closest to them.
I know that.
So that's a legitimate, it's a factor, you know?
I also might, so the reason I'm here, I'm on Morley Road, and I think some of the implementations that have been put into effect, the do not enters, inevitably funnel the bad actors onto Morley Road. So if you're coming on Furnace Brook Parkway, Willow is a do not enter. Anderson is a do not enter. Oakland, George, these are all do not enters from 7 to 9. Morley Road, you can still enter from 7 to 9. So we've now, for the one person that might abide by those signs, you've now funneled them onto Morley Road. So we now have people flying down our road because all those roads are do not enters in the morning.
Is Morley a private way?
It is not.
No, okay. No, it's accepted.
So I think, I mean, I agree that I think speed bumps would help Willow, but that might not solve the larger problem, which is people cutting through our neighborhood in the morning to get from Furnace Brook to Newport Ave. I think the speed signs will help. I think enforcement will help, but ultimately you're still kind of funneling the bad guys.
I mean,
right?
you could, that would be another ordinance. So, I mean,
I can look at putting.
Yeah, so that's actually why I'm here, because I think we've seen an increase, especially during the 7 to 9 hours. So George Road coming off of Newport Ave is a do not enter, but Morley Road is not. So we've seen a really significant increase in morning traffic from people who might be abiding by those signs for you guys, but unfortunately
what
not.
we also have found is that we should not make it a do not enter, we should make it a no left turn. Do not enters, so this might sound ridiculous, but do not enter is an ordinance. no left turn is an ordinance. The do not enters are a little tricky when they're time restricted, because by the time I'm already turning, I'm realizing, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, and it's too late. So the no left turn time restriction, which is really the move, right? I imagine some people are
Willow
taking-
has that though, no?
Yes. That's, so I guess my point is that we think that's the right approach. We took that approach on Newport, so now it says no right turn, which again, the southbound on PM Rush, et cetera, that's the move there. So I think that's how we'd want to do it, Counselor. It would be a no left turn, same hours.
Did they choose to not? We thought it was weird that Morley didn't have a sign when it first happened.
I'll tell you, my dog, myself, I think it's very concerning walking down the street in the morning. It's because I agree, like people, I'm shocked that 50 is the highest speed limit that you clocked, because I've seen people just completely fly down. So it's very dangerous to cross in the morning.
I think to be honest with you, even when I did door to door in that neighborhood, I don't think I had that complaint from anyone, but certainly that's something I can run. I got a couple of things I got to do after this. So.
Just insane.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Someone's gonna get hurt. Not a kid gonna get hurt. One of the grown-ups gonna get hurt. Right? One of us. Yeah. That's who's gonna get hurt.
Chris, on those signs that you're talking about, like the, thank you and all that stuff, are those going to be permanent signs?
Yes. Yes.
Where would you locate those on Willow, like coming down?
I was driving through there today, so coming from Furnace Brook, you come around the hook, there's a couple of brand new telephone poles.
Oh, yeah.
I think right about there.
Yeah.
What we try to do is kind of put them between houses so that it's not right in front of someone's face and all that stuff. Coming the other direction would be...
After you cross Oakland?
We could do that. We could, if we believe, and that's part of it, we get kind of a fixed data point.
Right.
We could have them almost right across from each other over there. If that, again, if the other end between Newport and Oakland is a little bit less intense with the speeding. If really. Well, what we can do, we could put one on that portion and one on the other portion. I mean, you really, again, you lose the effectiveness. You can't have these things every 200 feet. Right. And then it's like a joke, But you have one in one direction, one in the other direction, and you're really emphasizing to people in a more direct way. And we put those slow stencils out, we put the stop stencils out. I live in a neighborhood with the stop stencils. We put those out recently. I found it helps some people. I think the more familiar you get with an area, if you're always cutting through it, for example, which you probably have regulars. I don't know if anyone's... But the more familiar you get, if it's not, if you don't think you need to stop, then you tend to go, you blast through. So those stop stencils we've found are helpful for the person who maybe Waze is taking them through. They're unfamiliar with the area. That stop stencil, it's another point of emphasis. Oh, okay, time to stop. But I think that the speed signs, really will be the best approach to take right now. Any other approaches in the future might be, you could make that intersection. You could tighten the curb line, the curb radius up at Oakland, at Willow. That's a capital project that it's more difficult to execute. So I think we do something like this, and the odds of it working, I think, are good. And we'll track it. The UPD will track it.
But gets back to Bob's point about the enforcement. I think that's the bottom line. More enforcement is going to help a lot. If it's either once a month or whatever.
One other issue is now that spring is coming off of Newport Ave, coming up Willow, the stop sign that's right there at Oakland and Willow, when that tree stops this, and I know we have a new tree roll, because they started coming around and pruning the trees. But that particular tree, once it's in bloom, blocks the stop sign. So I've been out in front of my yard, cutting grass, whatever it is, and cars have just come right through it. Thank God nobody's got hit on the cross. Somebody going across on it. But, you go down there, you'll see they did not see the stop sign.
That's right at the corner of Willow and
Have you guys found the blinking stop signs effective? Like the ones that are illuminated similarly to the speeding sign that you recommend?
We had an experiment with one. It got hit by a mirror of some vehicle, and it was, so a normal stop sign costs like $100. Those cost like $1,500. To have them, they're somewhat effective. They're not as silver bullet. I find, honestly, the stop stencil to be similarly effective, and the stop stencil is virtually free. You know,
I mean, can we have those, they looked a little faded.
Oh yeah, everything will get freshened up in the spring. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. All the crosswalks, all the stop bars, everything will get freshened up.
And I'll put this in with the,
How are you in the situation with the trucks? How is that?
We'll pursue an actual official DOT recognized restriction.
and then you can go to a Waves and give it to a Waves and say, this is the city ordinance.
This is state law. Yeah.
State law.
Yeah.
But I mean, then they have to abide by it.
This may not be related to what you're talking about, but that blinking yellow by the tunnel, right down Willow Ave, so it's difficult. I live on Cedar, so it's difficult to go down to Oakland and get on to Newport because traffic is going both ways. Sometimes you wait there for 15 minutes and you take your life in your own hands, so sometimes your tendency is to go down to the light. I believe it's metered, because when you pull up to it, it turns green, but it gets one car through. It turns immediately back to yellow and then red. So maybe people are speeding toward that light.
You can take a look at the timing. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Is there any way to lengthen that green?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yep.
Like
And
you
then the
said,
only-
you gotta wait. You gotta wait. If you don't wait half a second and you go out, gone.
Oh, you're talking about, you gotta wait because people run it.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking about the light turning, it goes right back to red, like with, maybe you can get out. So
I'll have the
it's
traffic
a quick
engineer take a
turn.
look at that.
And the only other thing is on the corner of Beale and Newport, you know, going down to the train station when you're going north, I'm sorry. It seemed like that green now is shorter, okay? It used to be, you know what I'm saying? When you were doing the construction, granted, it's a long light, but at least it gives equal time on all sides.
Yeah, but the one at Brook turns red. You get a green on Beale and a red on Brook. You don't go anywhere.
Oh, no, that was another, well, I called you, Chris, I'm Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I was asking you if they could all be metered to go all green at once. So green at the top, green at the train station. So you're not stopping, and then you get stuck in the intersection if it gets backed up, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, they are running in coordination right now, which
Yeah.
means there's an offset between the two intersections.
Right.
So prior to us doing that,
and then the light turns, and then you're blocking the people going.
I think what we've found in general in a lot of these places is the cross traffic, as the volume of that increases,
Yeah.
you know, your ability to store cars on Beale Street, for example, isn't as good as it is on Newport.
Right.
So, you know, you try to strike the balance.
I know.
Try to strike the balance. So.
So the main thing is the signs, right? Changing the times.
Change it. I'll go through a couple of the action items that we have. State Police, going to Tacky Chan and John Keenan about enforcement on no commercial trucks on Furnace Brook Parkway. Sit down with Captain Steele, Captain of the Traffic in Quincy, for enforcement, changing the signs and adding an hour on each, both in the morning and in the afternoon. Seeing what we can do about talking to Waves, about getting those on. Eventide building, making sure the gate is left closed. Commercial trucks, make it part of the state law. Morley Road, we'll put the no left turn and the, and the same, so we'll basically do the same thing we did on the other streets.
I'm gonna charge my neighbors for this time.
Okay. Stop lines repainted, tree on Willow and Oakland trimmed, and timing on the light at Newport and Oakland, I believe it is. Willow.
The installation of the...
Yeah, the speed.
And the installation of the speed signs, yeah. Okay? What I'll do is, I haven't done community meetings, it's really my first community meeting, so you guys are the guinea pigs. What I do is when I do these community meetings, I'm going to send you all a letter thanking you for coming. I'll outline what the action items are, and we'll start working on those. And
So we'll meet you back at March 26th there, same time?
Sure.
I want to get it in.
I also let everyone know I do office hours where I am available at any time. You can cut, and there's no meeting schedule. You can walk right in, sit down, and talk to me. Go to quincyma.gov. I have my cards here with my number. Feel free if anything you want to cook. If you want to wait to a meeting, I do one in the morning and I do one at night for people who are working. And during the day, I'm retired, so I also do one in the morning too. And those I have those every month. They're posted right on the city website under councilor information. And whenever I have meetings, I always post the notices there. So feel free to examine that. If you call the number, 376-1355, it will go right to my cell phone. So I can't guarantee I'll answer it every time, but I will try to get back to you within the next day. That's what I've been trying to do. I got flooded in the beginning when I walked in, so I got a little behind, but I'm pretty much caught up with most of my messages and emails, and I answer them every morning and try to get an answer to you and work on it. So this might not be the last time we meet on this, but we've got a pretty good list of items. And one of the reasons I ran for councilor was because I felt I had a couple issues in my neighborhood that I felt people weren't addressing. So that was one of the reasons I decided after I retired. I was retired about a year. My wife was bored with having me around, and so I decided to run. So that's why I ran. I'm not looking to run for anything else. I grew up here all my life, and so I'm going to try to work. And one of the things when I ran, it was to try to give a voice to the neighborhoods and listen to the neighbors and try to come back. And I might not get everything done, but I'm going to give it a good effort.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank Chris. And I want to thank the police for showing up and listening to our pros and cons.
Okay, no, we work for you, so. Sometimes you might not thank you.